All right. Okay. Real quick. Where were we? Oh yeah. Old school nerd in the army. This is part 2 of 3. This one's going to be titled, Day 1, Phase 1. What the hell was I thinking? Okay, before we get into this, if you did not watch episode 1, you need to go back and watch that because otherwise it won't make any sense. Hi, everybody. My name is Old School Nerd. Let's go back to 1993. Yes, this was after the Cold War was over, but before 9/11. I joined the Army. Why? Doesn't matter. But I did, and I joined to be a combat medic. But before I was able to go to the combat medic school in Fort Sam Houston, I had to go through basic training. Let me give you a synopsis. Now, remember, please understand, this does not reflect any modern training techniques, facilities, staff, policies, none of that. We're going pre-9/11, 1993. This is before the internet. This is before most people even had cell phones regularly. We're still running around with beepers. I know, it's stupid. But anyway, 1993, Fort Sill, Oklahoma. First of the 19th Field Artillery. Okay. I was in Bravo Battery, which is company. I was in 1st Platoon. Okay. Now, to say this, we're going to talk about basic training at Fort Sill in 1993. That's what this episode is. Episode 3, the next one, we're going to talk about all the crazy people, characters, events, hilarity, stupidity, all that stuff comes in the next episode. I'm just going to give you the next 25 minutes to explain what basic training was like at Fort Sill in 1993. Okay? Best way to talk about this is Fort Sill. At this point, your boy is way over here somewhere on the other side of the map, on the left side of the map. I was at reception. Gotten all my shots, done all my paperwork, ready to go. Got my uniforms, got my gear, did all that stuff. I was able to go and get all of my the uniform fittings, all that different stuff. And I realized that there were 60 other stupid people with me. Okay. Now, this is day 1. We go to chow, breakfast. We're going to be met. The corporal that was in charge of us takes us to a basketball court with a roof over the top. We're sitting in bleachers. We have a duffel bag with everything we've been issued. We're wearing a set of BDUs, battle dress uniforms. Okay. We have our personal bags with us. I came with just a change of clothes, a toothbrush, deodorant, in a backpack because I knew better. I was told that's all you need. They're going to give you everything else. I'm going to find out that wasn't everything I needed, but that's not the point here. That's not for this video. So anyway, so we're on a basketball court with an overhang at reception, and the corporal goes, "All right, guys, I'll be back. Stay here unless someone comes and gets you. You will be collected." That's what he said. You will be collected. And then he leaves. And the 60 of us are sitting there on these bleachers on this basketball court waiting. I noticed immediately something was different. There were two soldiers, NCOs. One was a staff sergeant, one was a sergeant first class. And they were standing wearing green Class A pants with green tops, no overcoat, so they didn't have the full uniform. Name tabs pressed to the nines. Both of them had sunglasses on. The one thing that I knew my day was about to change forever was the fact they both had brown rounds. Now, the brown round drill sergeant, drill instructor cover or hat for the non-military people, it was round brown. It's a campaign hat with a round rim, brown with the campaign top, okay? Depending upon the military service. If it's the Marines, you have the globe and anchor in the middle. If it's the Army, it has the eagle crest with the blue in the back or the red in the back, depending upon which service they're in. These were blue because it was basic basic training. So they're both wearing brown rounds, and they were standing outside of the basketball overhang. And I'm like, oh shit. So I don't know what's going on, but I know today is the day. Today is the day. I don't know how many of the rest of the 60 of us thought that they had been in basic training this whole time. I knew we hadn't, because we had not been exposed to a single drill sergeant. They hadn't done any of the things my dad had warned me about. None of that stuff. So we're sitting there. Both of those drill sergeants are standing outside the area. Both of them walk in, and the staff sergeant, the lesser rank NCO, says, "Group, attention." And we all popped up because we were just getting used to standing up at attention. Of course, none of us knew what the hell we were doing. I did. I knew how to stand at attention. Feet together, toes 45 degrees apart. The fingers are cupped. Thumb is on top of the finger, laid on the outseam of my pants, staring forward, straight up. Do not move. Do not look. You're at attention. Locked out. Locked in. Knees slightly bent so I don't pass out. I'm at that point. Everybody else is standing around doing some. I could tell that some people knew what they were doing. Most of them did not. It was chaos right from the get-go. Those two NCOs, those two drill sergeants, called us to attention. At the same moment, cattle trucks pulled up. This is a cattle truck or a trailer. It's a large trailer with windows, swinging doors to one side, swinging doors to the back. There are no seats. It's literally a cattle trailer to load cattle into. It's been configured to haul 60 recruits, 60 privates in the Army, and their drill instructors from one place to another. They really only use the cattle trucks a few times in basic training, but mostly it's on the first day, because this is supposed to shake away a lot of that civilian perspective for a lot of the soldiers. They put us in this cattle truck, okay? And they weren't mean about it, but they weren't nice about it either. They were like, everybody in the truck, get your gear, get in the trailer, go. Load up to the front, all the way to the front, everyone to the front. And they were forceful, but they weren't yelling. They were being very direct. No one was going to argue with it. We ran onto the truck, got into the truck, and I was kind of towards the front a little bit, but I was up against the wall. I had a window right here. I could see outside the truck. Some people were just in the darkness. Some people were just piled on top. The only two areas that weren't overcrowded in this cattle trailer was the side door that you see and the back door. The side door was the staff sergeant, the junior NCO drill sergeant, and the drill sergeant that was a sergeant first class, his superior drill sergeant, was at the back door. And they told us, do not cross the yellow lines. There were yellow lines on the floor, similar to the yellow lines at the bottom of a bus that you don't cross because that's where the door is, for our safety. But the drill sergeant stood in those yellow boxes. The rest of us were just piled on top of ourselves. Just piled up. We then go on a tour of Fort Sill. No, we didn't go to basic. No, they took us on a tour of Fort Sill. They took us to the Artillery Museum. We got to go look at 155 millimeter howitzers. We got to go see Atomic Annie. Yes, the cannon that they built to fire an atomic bomb back in the day. Yeah, we got to see all of that stuff. We got to see all this stuff. And the drill sergeants are telling us, in 15 minutes, I want everyone to go look at all the different artillery pieces. If you have any questions, please ask us. We're going to be leaving in 15 minutes. Go, get off the bus. Leave all your gear on the trailer. Leave all your stuff, leave all your gear on the trailer. We're piling out. Now, at that point, we're doing all that. But before they put us on the cattle trailer again, they told us all to go get our one canteen. Now, what's funny was when we packed our duffels, the corporal made sure that we all took one of our 2 canteens issued and put it at the very top of your duffel. So everybody's scrambling to grab their duffel, open it, pull the canteen out, close the duffel back, and they have one canteen in their hand. Then we all load back into the trailer. Okay. Then they take us to this small little house on the prairie farmhouse. It looks like any typical farmhouse from any movie you've ever seen. 2-story plains farmer farmhouse, 2-story with the porch, the whole 9 yards. They get us all out, and it's the first time they told us to line up. We all had to get up in a line. Front to back, face to the back of the head of the person in front of you. Hold your canteen in your left hand, stand at attention, wait, and follow instructions. Yes, drill sergeant, whatever. We didn't know what we were doing. They lined us up at the front of the house, and in one by one, we went into the house. There were 2 ladies inside. The ladies would look at us. They'd look at the back of our collar on our BDU jacket, our BDU top. And based upon that, they'd hand us a uniform. No. Do you remember the picture I showed you? This one? That's not a uniform. No. It's the back is open in the back, and it has a hook on the back behind your neck. That's a fake tie that's been sewn into a shirt that's sewn into a fake top, and the cover is real. But all of that is just a smock pullover that gets clipped in the back, depending upon your size. And then they send you to the next room, and you stand in front of an American flag and a backdrop, and they tell you to look at the dot, and they take your picture. You want to look at the dot? Look good. This is going to go back to your parents. This is going to be the picture you're going to share with all your family and friends. We haven't done anything, and they're taking pictures of us in a fake hangover, clipped to the back, fake uniform cover that goes over the front of you. It's not even real. So you take the picture, they have you go to the next room. In the next room, you take it off, you put it back on the hanger, you hang it up, go out the door. Drill sergeant standing at the door. Those ladies were the last civilian people we were going to see for 8 weeks. I didn't know it at the time. We get outside. The first thing the drill sergeant outside tells you is, drill sergeant tells you, go to the watering point, fill your canteen, get in line. Yes, drill sergeant. Run up there, turn on the faucet, it has a latch, and the whole ground around it is mud. Why? Because apparently everybody has to fill their canteen at this one spot every day. So 60 of us get our pictures taken, everyone fills their canteen and goes get in line side by side all the way down the sidewalk in front of the cattle trailer again. And then the 2 drill sergeants come up and they're like, okay, everyone, drink your entire canteen. When you are done, turn your canteen upside down so we can see that you have taken in 1 canteen of water. This is all strategic. They want to make sure that we are hydrating before we have no chance to hydrate for the next 6 hours. 1 quart of water, 32 ounces, drink the whole damn thing. Then you turn it over. When everyone's done that, everyone then goes back in the cattle truck, take your canteen, find your duffel, open your duffel, put your canteen in your duffel, close your duffel. Everyone in the cattle truck, go. Chaos, right? But the drill sergeants at this time are still not yelling at anyone. They're giving us strict orders. We are too scared to even blink. We are going nuts. It's chaos. We're all chickens with our heads cut off at this point. So we're driving through and you can see out the windows and you can see out the big doors and everything. And everyone, you can see the post going by. You see Humvees, you see an MLRS, multi-launch tank track vehicle. You're seeing HEMTs. You're seeing soldiers marching. You're seeing soldiers in cars. You see the PX, the movie theater, all this stuff. And then we come back to this map. We're on the left side of the map right now, okay? The museum and all that stuff. Now, we're about to go to the right side of the map. Remember when I told you that this was the headquarters of the training facility and that all of these were the different battalions or field batteries that are training people? And the one that I was going to was that one at the bottom. Remember when I told you that? Okay. To get from the west side of the map to the east side, you have to cross the interstate. At the overpass that is right between 2 and 3. Okay? As we approach the overpass, I'm looking out the window and I'm just seeing a post. Fort Sill looks like an army base. There's people all around, people just doing regular things. It's a Tuesday morning. Nothing looks bad. I'm sorry, it's a Friday. It's a Friday morning. Nothing looks crazy. Nothing looks bad. Everything looks okay. And then we cross the overpass. And the second we cross the overpass, Drill Sergeant Ewing, that was his name, and we're going to talk about him more. But Drill Sergeant Ewing was standing at the side door, and he begins to ruin our lives with a rant that tells you how screwed your life has just become. Welcome to the Fort Sill Artillery Basic Training Campus. My name is Drill Sergeant Ewing. You are privates. You are now in training. You will not eat. You will not drink. You will not walk. You will not talk. You will not sleep. You will not do anything without our expressed command and direction. Breathing is optional. And as he's saying this stuff, I'm looking out the window and all I see is torture and mayhem. We went from the calm, peaceful, organized Fort Sill to hell on earth. And I really believe that at this training facility, and this training facility, they know that Friday is the beginning of basic training at this facility. Because we have to drive by this one, and this one. I think for the fun of it, drill sergeants at other field artillery battalions see the cattle trucks come across the overpass knowing that there are brand new recruits in those cattle trucks and have every soldier that they're training drop and start doing mountain climbers or push-ups or flutter kicks or something to where you're in the cattle truck and all you see is people being punished. Just chaos. And it works. It 100% works. So we drive up, we turn the corner, and we get to the first of the 19th Field Artillery. And don't need that map anymore. And this doesn't matter because this is the stuff that starts to occur. We get there and they instead of the 2 drill sergeants, there are now 8 drill sergeants. There are 6 of them waiting for us when we get there. There are 3 at the back door. There are 2 at the side door. There are 3 in the Starship, which I'm going to show you in a few seconds. And they are yelling for everybody to get off the cattle truck. Everybody. I was smart enough to grab my duffel, grab my personal backpack, and get off and run to the direction that they are all knife handing, not pointing, knife handing. And I'm running. Don't give a crap about anybody else. I am gone. Now, a lot of people took off and didn't even grab their stuff. They were so scared, they just took off running and left their personal bag and their duffel on the cattle truck. But in the chaos, it was chaos. So once people start piling off, you have drill sergeants on the cattle truck throwing people's crap out of the trailer, just throwing it into a pile in the grass. So the people that ran away from the cattle truck are now standing on places where there are white, 2 feet like this at 45 degrees. They're white. They are not yellow. If you want yellow, you go join the Marines and realize that is a whole different world. I want to say this right now. Marine basic training, boot camp, what they do in Parris Island and what they do in San Diego is not this. This, for me, is fun. This was fun. This was not bad for me. That's a different world. So when I say they are white, they are white. The only people that use the yellow ones are the Marines, and there's a reason why. And if you want to know why, you go talk to a Marine. And I didn't say former Marine. I didn't say ex-Marine. I didn't say retired Marine. I say Marine because if you walk the yellow steps at Paris Island or San Diego, you're Marine to the day you die. And when you die, you go to heaven and you're still a Marine because you got a job to do because you're guarding the gates. That's the lore, okay? That's the only thing we're going to talk about the Marines is that everything I'm about to tell you does not apply. So you're standing on these two white foot pads. Put your feet on them, 45. So your feet are in the position of attention. If you're standing on them, you're in line in the proper distance already. Just stand there, stupid. But these guys are standing with their feet apart and all this other stuff. They're holding gear and all this other stuff, and it doesn't matter. And why am I still showing the cattle truck? Because drill sergeants are finding any private that's standing there without a personal bag and a duffel bag and a ruck and a sleeping mat rolled up, going, go get your shit. So they're running back, grabbing, they got to find their stuff now that they've left. And the only way you're going to find your personal bag is you know what your personal bag looks like. And your duffel has your name printed on it. Now you got to look at duffels to find out which one is yours based upon your last name and your serial number. The whole time, the three drill sergeants that are left at the cattle truck are yelling at you because you're taking too long. It's so much fun. It was so much fun. I wasn't part of that nonsense, but because I was over here. So they have everybody stand there and they're yelling at people and they're wanting people to stand up straight. And they're, even if you're doing it right, you're doing it wrong. It doesn't matter. It's all about the chaos. The idea is to bring them into a sense of whatever you thought of before is now over. They're going to bring you to a sense of overwhelming just stimulation. A lot of it is negative. I get that. Okay. The idea is to take you out of whatever semblance of peace you had and bring you to a sense of absolute chaos. Why? Because once you get through the chaos, you can then find a balance. That's usually around phase 2, phase 3 in about 6 weeks. But for now, it's just chaos. They're having you hold your gear up above your head. This is your personal gear. You're going to load your personal gear in this storage locker, and you're not going to have that for the next 8 weeks. So if there's anything you're supposed to have, glasses, but we're issued glasses too, so it didn't matter. That personal gear was locked away, and you didn't get it back till after phase 1 was over, which is the first 3 weeks, okay? So they got rid of all that gear, and you were just with your gear. Now, Starship. What is a starship? A starship is a training building. This is an example of a starship. The ones we had at Fort Sill in 1993 were a little different. This is a starship that has a deck, the bottom bay deck, which is where you can see it's clean. You can do different activities out of the sun, out of the rain there. The first floor above it is for first platoon. The second floor above that is for second platoon. The windows do not open. Okay. And normally the ones that we were in 1993 had a third story for third platoon. We had 3 platoons in our company. I was in first platoon. Okay. Now the building back there, that is the battalion headquarters or the Central Training Facility building. In that building is the battalion headquarters with all the staff, the day room for the NCOs, the training facility for the NCOs, the mess hall, and the armory are all in the central building. Okay. So when I say the starship, that's what I'm talking about. Now, you're looking at the front, the main building of the facility. Behind this picture is the stairwell that goes up to each individual floor. Recruits or privates take those stairs on that side. They don't get to go through the battalion main building. They haven't earned that right yet. So they go through the back. Now at the bottom floor, on the first floor, there is an annex added to the back of that stairwell, which has a laundromat with 8 washers and 8 dryers. 8 washers and 8 dryers for 3 platoons, each of 60 soldiers. So you figure out how that's going to work, because I was there 8 weeks and I'm still not sure how we got that done. You go up to the top of your bay. Now, in your bay, there is an area, a long bay area that looks like this. Okay? In this bay area, okay, there is a floor, and along that floor are these metal bunks. They're not stacked 2 on top. You have a bunk. Behind the bunk is a cabinet. In that cabinet is an area to hang your uniforms. On the bottom, you can put different articles. There are three drawers. Those drawers lock at the top. The top one locks, and you're supposed to get 2 padlocks. One for your door, one for the top drawer. The top drawer is your personal effects. Then the second drawer is for socks, shirts, underwear. The bottom drawer is for PT uniforms. And then everything hanging are your 2 sets of winter BDUs and 2 sets of summer BDUs. And your gear, your helmet. You had 2 pairs of boots, as you can see on the bunk here. Now, all of this stuff, they give you a chart that you have to memorize on how everything is laid out on top of the bunk to be inspected. They show you how to roll a towel, and then also this is your laundry bag here. For inspection, everything that's dirty is put away, everything is clean and put out and polished and set. None of this stuff happened on the first day. On the first day, we were loaded into your bays. You're yelling and screaming. You're stood in front of a bunk. It didn't matter where your bunk was, because you just stood in front of a bunk. You're standing in front of a bunk, and there are 3 things that they do in basic training in 1993 at Fort Sill in our platoon that our 2 drill sergeants did to us. The first punishment, or physical activity, or PT, physical training, was flutter kicks. You lay on your back, you do a 6-inch lift, and then you flutter your feet like this. Okay? Flutter kicks. The other one is called mountain climbers. Mountain climbers are when you stand into a plank position like you're going to do push-ups, but instead of going down and up, you bring your knees to your chest one at a time, and it's mountain climbing. Get it? And then we did bunk pushes, which are basically you get on the end of your bunk and you put your arms on your rail at the front of your bunk, and you do dips with your feet out in front. Those were the 3 basic physical activities you can do in a bay that were safe to do in all conditions and didn't take up so much room to where people were bumping into each other and possibly injuring each other. We did a lot of those the first day. It was chaos. Nothing we could do was right. Let me give you one example, and then we're going to move on. That night, after doing a lot of paperwork, and he's telling us all the rules, everyone's being assigned to their bunk. A lot of people are getting yelled at. It's chaos, blah, 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 blah. They tell us at the end of the day, after we have our evening chow down in the mess hall, they bring us back up for us to do our latrine and our personal care, which is showers, brushing your teeth, changing your clothes, get ready for bed check. Okay. So bed check is where you stand in front of your bunk in your skivvies, your underwear, a t-shirt. You put your hands out, and they want to inspect your nails. They want to inspect the tops and bottoms of your hands for blisters. They can also check your nails to see if you've actually cleaned your hands. They'll look at your ears. They'll look at your brow. They'll look underneath your neckline. Those are things that will stay dirty if you don't take a shower. They also look, and you're standing in flip-flops, and they want to look at your toes, your ankles, your feet, to see if you have blisters, all those things. They want to see that stuff, address that stuff before the end of the night, because the next morning, all hell breaks loose again. So they did that. But to get to bed check, we all have to get showered. So they tell us to go take a shower, go now. Now, in a bay in 1993, there were 8 shower heads for 60 people. And they said, you have 2 minutes. I learned real quick that's not going to happen. So I grabbed soap, I grabbed a washcloth, and I grabbed my towel. I ran to the bathroom, went to the sink, soaped up my hands, my feet with the washcloth, washed them, washed my neck, my back, my face, my pits, rinsed it, wiped all the soap off, wringed out the towel, dried with the towel, and hauled back to my bunk. I was back in 45 seconds, standing in front, ready to go. My battle buddy at the time, and we're going to talk about battle buddies here in a little bit, also followed my lead. There were people literally trying to go into the shower and shampoo up in 2 minutes. Needless to say, we didn't make it. We're all standing at our bunks ready to go. Half the platoon is in the shower, still trying to get out. People are running down. The drill sergeant is counting down from 10, 9, 8. People are running back with a towel around themselves, soap in their eyes, banging into stuff, water's going everywhere, and they get to 0, and the drill sergeant just yells, "The mountain climber." When he yells that, everyone drops down to the plank. The mountain climber, drill sergeant, begin. 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2. We're all wearing towels around our waists and we're buck naked. After about 30 seconds, the towels fall to the floor and everyone is just dangling in the air doing mountain climbers. Half of us are soaking wet, so we're slipping and busting ourselves in the face. And all you can do is look up and you see your battle buddy across the aisle from you. He's naked, you're naked. It's been the shittiest day in the world. And you're doing mountain climbers and it is 8:15 at night. Buck naked. I look at him, he looks at me, and we both crack a smile and we start laughing. We're not laughing out loud, but we are laughing at the hilarity of the situation. Remember, everything in basic training is mental, physical, but it's also personally social. You learn to let go of everything that you could be embarrassed about. You started to let go of everything that you personally feel you can't do. Then you learn that anything is possible, including the most ridiculous crap ever. So the chaos of the first day then bleeds over into the first week. Everything you do is wrong. They teach you how to stand, how to go someplace, the schedule. The schedule is very strict. We start up at 4 o'clock in the morning. PT is at 4:30. We are back from PT by 5:15. At 5:45, we have to be dressed and downstairs in the bay area of the starship that I showed you to go to chow. After chow, we go back upstairs to our bay, and we have 1 hour to clean up the bay, clean the latrine, set your gear, dress for gear, and be back down for formation to start the training for the day. The impossibility of the time constraints are almost improbable. And the way we worked on it was we developed a system through much pushed guidance from the drill sergeants on which squad, and we had a 1 platoon, 4 squads. The squad would actually, 1 squad would be in charge of the bay floors, sweeping up and cleaning the bay floors. 1 squad would be in charge of making sure the stairwell outside downstairs was clean. 1 squad would be in charge of the shower area. 1 squad would just be in charge of the sinks and toilets. And that job would rotate every week. Everyone got a chance to be screwed up. So we worked on that. That was the first week, was just that, just learning the schedule. And they would march you to places, and they would march you to this orientation, this class. We hadn't even done anything except physical training punishments, learning how to literally follow basic commands. And I would say that phase 1, the first 3 weeks, were basically just that. Learning how to operate in a time-constrained, focused environment where it was a land of commands in 2 forms. There's a thing called a preparatory command and a command of action. If you're marching and someone says, column left, That means, okay, the column is turning to the left in a column. That means as we go, the person in the front is going to turn left. When he says march, they're going to turn. That's the command of action. So the drill sergeant would yell out, column left. That tells the entire column of people, the entire column of soldiers, that you're going to be turning left one at a time in the same spot. And the command march is the command of action, which we actually do what he says. Literally. Left. Okay, I'm going left. Face. Face. About. Okay, I'm going about, which is to the back. Face. Turn. A preparatory command and a command of action. All of those things you have to learn. Plus, you're learning your soldier handbook, your general orders. There are orders that all military personnel follow. They're the general orders. They're set forth from the commander-in-chief and they go all the way down. Every single soldier, from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs to a private that just graduated basic training or boot camp, knows the general orders of the military and follows those general orders. They are basic orders. You have to learn all that. You learn about the different uniforms. Remember I told you about summer BDUs and winter BDUs. Summer BDUs have a grid pattern in them. Now, this is in 1993. They had a grid pattern of heavy plastic polymer webbing in the fabric. And it was in squares. It was lightweight. The BDU breathed very well in the heat. And it had those squares sewn into it to where if you cut it, it didn't rip because it was lightweight. Then you had winter BDUs, which were a heavy wool cotton blend, which didn't need the ripstop because it was such heavy material. They look completely different. But where we were at in Fort Sill in the end of the summer, we wore our summer BDUs and left our winter BDUs to be pressed for inspection. Just being smart. We'll go into that more later. There were constant classes on how to shine your boots, how to present your bay, how to present your gear, how to fold a t-shirt. Oh, and by the way, we didn't fold t-shirts. You rolled them. How to fold underwear? No, you rolled them. How do you fold socks? You don't fold a sock, you roll them. Yeah, and everything has its spot. We would have daily inspections and you would mess up a lot. And your battle buddy or other members of your squad would mess up. If enough people mess up, they would just make everyone get punished. That was all part of it. You'd learn how to go to chow. You'd learn what you could eat, what you couldn't eat. And then we prepped PT every morning. One day, the PT schedule back then was very unique. They would do alternating disciplines. Strength training called muscle failure and endurance cardiovascular run training. So one day you would do stretches, calisthenics, like normal, like everyone does prep warm up. Then you would do strength training, which we called muscle failure, where you would do the two main exercises of the standardized PT test back then were sit-ups, push-ups, and a 2-mile run in 1993. Don't get it confused with other things. You had to do 42 push-ups at 18 years of age. 42 push-ups in 2 minutes. You had to do 45 sit-ups in 2 minutes. And you had to do the run in, I think, 15 minutes and 12 seconds. Back then. Different now. If you got above the standard, everything you got above the standard was extra points. A maximum score was 200. That's where you did the run like in 12 minutes and so many seconds. You did 80-something sit-ups and you did 60-something or 80-something push-ups. There were people that were maxing out the PT tests. Most recruits did not. However, on the first PT test, we did have one guy, one private from 1st Platoon max out the PT test on the first PT test. He was the distinguished honor graduate of our class. He was a monster. Oh, we hated him so much. But it was so easy for him. For me, I struggled with upper body strength. I didn't have shoulders back then, didn't have a chest back then. I was rail thin. I was rail thin. And we would do these different push-ups, and we would do push-ups until you could not do them anymore, till your body would literally fail. And then you'd spend the next day doing cardiovascular running So your muscles were regenerating and recovering. The next time you were stronger. The next time after that, you were faster. And we built. Sit-ups were never a problem. I would max out the sit-ups. I would do pretty good in the run. But eventually, I built myself up. I started off being able to do 36 push-ups on the first day. I was able to do 58 on my final PT test. I didn't max out the PT test during basic training, but my run and my sit-ups more than made up for it. I was in the high echelon. I made honor graduate in different respects. There's classroom study. There's a lot of things you have to learn. And this is even before we even got our first taste of rifle marksmanship. You don't do that in the first phase. You do that in the second phase, into third phase during BRM, basic rifle marksmanship. So we do all these classes, indoctrination, do all these different things. After phase 1, you go into phase 2. At that point, they realize, okay, you guys can basically exist in the training environment and not completely wander off or get yourselves killed doing something simple as walking from point A to point B, and you follow basic instructions and you're not going to do something stupid normally. That's the end of phase 1. Phase 2, we start learning how to be a soldier. Certain things started happening. You start doing obstacle courses. You start learning things about being a soldier. Basic stuff. Not advanced combat training, none of that. But during phase 2, you're introduced to your rifle. At the time, we were doing M16A2s for us. It was a rifle that had semi-automatic, safe, and then also had fully automatic setting on it, okay? Of course, we learned how to do all that stuff. We learned how to take it down, clean it. There were 2 days just learning how to care, break down, and take care of a rifle. Literally, we had 2 days where there was a piece of paper in front of you that showed you all the different parts of a M16A2. We had to break it down. Yes, that's me in the middle. The guy in the middle, that's me. Watch, look, watch. See the nose? See the ears? That's me. So breaking down an M16A2 into all of its parts, how to clean it, how to oil it, how to care for it, very important. At the end of the day, we did not sleep with our rifles. Get that out of your head. We put them back in the armory. That comes later. They had to learn how to trust us with inanimate objects that could kill people. So some of the other things were, of course, different things. NBC training. This is also a picture of me. I'm holding an M23 NBC mask, which is, you would refer to it as a gas mask. It comes with a hood. We had to learn how to function on those, the filters, all that stuff. Of course, yes, there is a gas chamber where everyone files into an old hot metal building, and an NBC NCO comes in, drops 2 little tablets that look like Alka-Seltzer into a can. Smokes comes out of the can. It's CS, which is tear gas. And you do all the stupid stuff. You come out, your face is burning, all the other stuff. I have a funny story about that on the next episode. Then after phase 2, we go into phase 3. Now, by the end of phase 3, you're kind of 5 weeks in. Okay, you've spent the last month and a week literally learning what to do, what not to do. Your PT is getting better. You're learning how to not. Oh, we also spent hours on the drill pad, an open parking lot, learning how to march, close order drill, both with rifles and without rifles. We went to religious services. We went to the PX or shopette, where you went to go get little items that you need. Toothpaste, a new toothbrush, deodorant, all that stuff you could go buy, and then you'd come back. Now, I'm just glossing over. I could talk about basic training for hours. In fact, we'll probably have fun stories. I'll have guests come in to the channel. We'll do some podcasts. We'll tell funny military stories. I have a lot of veteran friends that would love to come be a part of this and tell you funny stories. And that's going to be fun, especially on the next episode. But before we go, I want to talk about basic rifle marksmanship, grenade training, and then graduation. Towards the end of phase 2 into phase 3, you've learned basic soldiering from a perspective of personnel, rules, regulations, methods, that kind of stuff. Phase 2 into phase 3 is application into a combat environment, starting with basic rifle marksmanship. All the chaos of phase one, where drill sergeants are just a-holes from morning to night. You start seeing that drill sergeants in phase one, a drill sergeant literally sleeps in the office. They're always there. Phase two, they start going home at night. Phase three, they go home at night and they're gone on the weekend. Why? Because we're soldiers all the time. We can't stop. They don't have to hover over us. Now, at any time, they could show up. And we knew that. So nobody screwed around. Because at any time, Drill Sergeant Kaseha or Drill Sergeant Ewing could walk in and you were screwed. We'd have inspections from Drill Sergeant inspections, Senior Drill Sergeant inspections. You remember that guy? I told you about that guy, right? Big guy. Talk about him later. The platoon leader would show up, the lieutenant. We'd have company commander inspection, first sergeant inspection. All these different people that are in higher ranks would come and look at the recruits to see how they're progressing from an inspection standpoint. We did road marches. We did bivouacking, which is camping out. It's called bivouacking, trust me. Then when we got to basic rifle marksmanship, the tone changes. The drill sergeants stop yelling at you constantly. Why? Because you have live ammunition. Let's start calming down because you're learning a skill, but you're also being handed a 30-round magazine. And basically, if you wanted to, that's where a recruit or a private could kill a whole bunch of people. But you didn't. Why? You were trained. You were focused. When we got to BRM, you learned how to shoot your rifle. And a lot of times we were doing dry firing, zeroing, all these different perspectives, which there are many different videos on YouTube about. Please check them out. Basic rifle marksmanship, I shot expert. I missed it. I missed perfect by 1 point. Very proud of that. I spent a lot of time with my father learning how to shoot a AR-15. So when I got there, the only difference between the one my dad taught me how to use and the M16A2 was that the M16A2 had a fully automatic setting. And we learned how to fire that in bursts. We did grenade training. And that I have a lot of stories about. I experted in grenade. You learn how to actually function, throw, deploy a live grenade, and you do a live grenade while you're there. That was a crazy day. That's a whole story I want to talk about. And then as you got towards into phase three, you start realizing, okay, we're all now basic soldiers. We could go out there, we could kill the enemy, but that's about all we could do. We have no actual combat training in groups. We're an individual soldier that could basically go out and die. Basically. And maybe take a few with us. That's all we were really good at. We were okay at being a soldier, the language, the focus, the military bearing, how to stand, how to present yourself, how not to embarrass the United States of America. That's the stuff that you learn. In phase three, we start gearing into certain things and the drill sergeants really start to relax. I think we only saw the drill sergeants yell one time at us in all of phase three, which is the last 3 weeks, because we were getting ready to graduate. 3 days before graduation, we get our orders to our next training post. The drill sergeants come in. We do a formal inspection of graduate stuff. They start looking at us, and he's looking at me. And I was called Patton, by the way, like General Patton, because the way my name is spelled in real life, but they say Patton. And like, okay, Patton, you're looking pretty good. By the way, you also realize that nobody has a first name in the Army. To this day, I had to look at my yearbook to realize that my battle buddy's first name was Paul. I forgot that his first name was Paul. I always knew him as Custer because his last name was Custer, C-U-S-T-E-R. We just call each other by our last names because that was your name tag. The drill sergeant was called Drill Sergeant Ewing, Drill Sergeant Casieja. Do I know their first names? I do not. Does it matter? Nope, it didn't matter at the time. So you go through all those different aspects of basic training. Now, there are a lot of videos out there that talk about specific things. And later on, if in the comments of the video, you would like for me to talk about a specific event, an obstacle course, the assault course, the gas day, food. What was the food like? What was PT really like? PT tests back in the 90s. The training at the end, there's 48 hours of intense training at the end. Graduation, your training after. I would love to talk about all those in separate videos because I don't want to sit here and ramble for hours about those things. But for the 3 phases of basic training, I can honestly say I grew up 5 years mentally and socially in 8 weeks. I went from being a child that really didn't function well in adult society because I was very young as a kid when I graduated high school, to a person that when I got home, when my dad would talk to me, when other adults would talk to me, they talked to me differently. They started talking to me like an adult because they realized, okay, well, Old School Nerd did something that I've never done. And the people who have done military service talk to you like a brother, like a sister, like a family member, because they know what you know. That also leads me to the last thing I'm going to say before I go. This video is 50 minutes long. I don't want to go over an hour. So let me just say this before I go. The next video is episode 3. And episode 3 is completely dedicated to the ridiculously crazy people that I met in basic training and in AIT, the crazy events, the stupidity, and the chaos that is serving in the military that you never forget. People ask all the time, how does habitual line crosser, how does the donut operator, how does the fat electrician, how does veteran with a sign, how do all these YouTube content creators, why are they the way they are? Why do they have all these funny stories? Why do they have all these jokes? Why do they have all these one-liners, anecdotes, metaphors? How do they have all this stuff? How are they able to be the way they are? There's an innate charisma that certain people have. But when you're in the military, you're exposed to such chaos, such ridiculous behavior on purpose, that when you come back into the civilized world, you have reminisced stories and perspectives that you can instantly say something to someone and it's hilarious or outlandish or ridiculous. A majority of the fans of the fat electrician or habitual line crosser are veterans. Why? Because their comedy always reflects little innuendos, little callbacks, little one-liners that any veteran or any service member, past or present, that has served in the military all have in common. We're going to talk about some of those things in episode 3. It's going to be a lot more fun. It's going to be a lot less focused. I've got some stories about some people that will boggle your mind. And the fact that we put weapons in those people's hands and said, go defend the country, to this day still makes me wonder, why did we do that? And here's the thing, they've been doing it for 250 years. Happy birthday, Marine Corps. Yep. Yes. 250 years of the Marines. So anyway, I'm going to go now. I'm going to start gathering hilarious jokes and stories. I'm going to share a lot of them, but not all of them because there's just too many to go through in a 30, 45, 50-minute presentation. Thank you guys for coming in. This was episode 2. Just an overview of what basic training was like, mainly phase 1, the chaos of that first day. I have a lot more stories. We'll talk about individual events. So in the comments, do me a favor. If you've never been in the military, don't worry about that. I ain't worried about that. If you have been in the military, share with me something that you remember from phase 1. If you were at Fort Sill, you know what I'm talking about. If there's something about it that you want to share, put it in the comments. If there's an event that I mentioned in passing that you want me to do a video about and explain in detail the chaos of those days or weeks or whatever, would love to talk about that. My name is Old School Nerd. And yeah, I said that they called me Patton, Private Patton. Yes. And so I was referred to as General Patton. My battle buddy's last name was Custer. They called him General Custer. So I can tell you right now that on the next episode, we're going to talk about how, just for the hell of it, the drill sergeants would ask the 2 generals what we should do next. By the way, they never listened to our suggestions, and we were always wrong. We'll see you later. Thanks for watching, everybody. And if you enjoyed this video, give us a like. It really helps the channel grow. Also, if you want to subscribe, right over there. A big thank you to all my Patreons out there for everything you do. And if you want more content like this, check them out above. Remember, love one another, take care of each other. We're all stuck on this mud ball together. We'll see you later.